To the deep dive. We're here, as always, to shortcut you to being well-informed. And today, we've got maybe our most minimal source yet. It's basically a simple conversation script.
Yeah.
About reading habits, meant for language practice.
That's right. But even, the simplest scripts can tell you a lot about human truth. When people talk about their routines, their motivations, even if it's structured practice, they're revealing core values. Our source has two readers, Emma and Tom, and what we're doing is skipping the vocabulary lesson.
Right, we're going deeper.
Exactly. We're looking past the words to pull out the practical stuff, how people actually build reading into their lives, why they do it. We're looking at the blueprint, really, for a reading habit, just based on what they shared.
Yeah, it's not just do they like books. It's the mechanics, the logistics, how often, and what's the underlying reason that makes it worthwhile for them. So we're going to unpack frequency, location, motivation, and the practical side of keeping this habit going, all from Emma and Tom. Okay, so let's kick things off with the basics. The rhythm of reading. What does this conversation tell us about how often these two actually read? Is it serious commitment or more casual?
Well, it looks like commitment, but structured in different ways, which is interesting in itself.
Okay.
You've got Tom. He's established a really clear, almost like a non-negotiable ritual. He says he reads books almost every night before I go to bed.
Almost every night.
Yeah, that phrase, almost every night, it signals real consistency. Tied to a specific time, end of the day. It's clearly a wind-down thing for him.
Makes sense. And what about Emma? Is she on the same page?
Emma's also routine-based, but slightly less frequent. She reads 3 or 4 times a week.
Okay, 3 or 4 times. Still regular.
Definitely regular. So if you look at those two patterns, the nightly ritual versus the, let's say, structured weekly plan, both are concrete goals. They're achievable. It's about making it regular, not just reading in bursts.
So one's a daily habit, the other's more of a weekly one. Does that difference maybe suggest anything about how they approach reading? Tom reading every night, is he maybe prioritizing just getting through it over, say, deep understanding?
That's a really good question. I mean, it's possible the nightly reader, Tom, he might be using it more for that relaxation, that transition, so maybe absorbing stuff less intensely, but, more constantly.
Right, drip feed learning.
Kind of. And Emma, reading a few times a week, she might be setting aside longer chunks of time, more focused maybe, potentially going deeper when she does read.
So different models for habit formation, but both seem effective. Depends on the goal, perhaps. Relaxation versus deeper dives.
Could be. Yeah, which frequency fits your aim better?
Okay, let's shift gears to motivation. That seems key, especially for Tom's consistency. What specific interests drive their reading, does the script say?
It does for Tom, very clearly, and it's quite intentional. He talks about genres and immediately focuses on books about different cultures.
Different cultures, okay.
And then he links it directly to a goal. He says he wants reading to teach me how people live in other countries.
Ah, okay. So it's not just escapism then. It's active learning, using books as a tool, almost like travel without leaving home.
Precisely. It functions like an academic tool for him, alongside maybe being enjoyable. And if we look at the core benefits they both talk about, it really backs up this active approach.
Right. The conversation moves on to the bigger picture benefits. So what's the high-level stuff? What are they really getting out of reading, according to them, beyond just, following a story?
They sort of break it down into 4 main areas. Covers the intellectual side, but also the emotional. Intellectually, yeah, books broaden my mind. They teach many things about the world, standard benefits, maybe.
Yeah.
But then, critically, there's the emotional and social intelligence side. Books help them understand different people.
Empathy building?
Seems like it. And they also mention that books allow them to relax and learn at the same time.
That's the magic combo, isn't it?
Yeah.
Relax and learn. It feels productive and restful. Kind of avoids that guilt you sometimes get with just pure entertainment.
It really does. And that dual benefit is a powerful reason to keep the habit going. But maybe the most revealing thing about their, let's call it, philosophy of reading. It comes from this analogy Tom uses.
Oh, yeah? What does he say?
He states it really directly. Books are like friends. They never leave you alone.
Wow. Books are like friends. That's quite powerful.
Yeah.
Why do you think comparing books to friends is so significant here? What does that tell us?
Well, it lifts the book, doesn't it? From just being an object, something you use and put down, to being a reliable companion.
Yeah.
Think about it. In a world where maybe connections can be unreliable or, demanding, this analogy suggests books offer something constant: comfort, availability.
Unconditional presence.
Exactly. A reliable presence that gives you comfort and mental stimulation. It directly links that emotional goal, relaxation, to the physical act of reading. It's not just words on a page.
That really says a lot about maybe needing reliable structure in their lives.
Yeah.
Okay, let's get into the practical stuff. Logistics, pace. For you listening, if you're trying to build this habit, knowing how fast others read can be useful, right? Set expectations. Did Tom give any specifics?
He did, yeah. He gave a pretty concrete benchmark, helps measure efficiency, I suppose. Tom says he can finish a 300-page book in about 1 week.
1 week for 300 pages.
Yeah. He does add, it depends on the book's complexity, fair enough. But that metric, what is that? Roughly 40, 50 pages a night if he's reading almost every night.
Yeah, about that.
It sets a tangible standard, something achievable for many people.
That kind of pace suggests pretty focused attention, though, doesn't it? If his goal is learning about cultures, like he said, reading at that speed means he's getting continuous input, not just, slowly chipping away.
Absolutely. If you think about a typical nonfiction book on culture, like the one he mentions later, reading it in a week, that shows real commitment to the learning process. It's not just a quick diversion. It's an ongoing project for him.
So where does all this reading actually happen? The script mentions a few places, right? Each serving a different kind of purpose.
Yeah, and there's a clear theme.
Quiet.
Quiet. The main preference is definitely the comfort zone. Both Emma and Tom agree they like reading at home because it's cozy and quiet.
Right. Tom even adds the detail about having a cup of tea with it.
Exactly. That sensory comfort, it's directly tied to the goal of relaxation, isn't it? The environment helps achieve the feeling they want from reading.
But they don't only read at home, do they?
No, they mention other spots too. Utilitarian spots, you could call them. Tom mentions going to the library specifically because it's quiet there.
Okay, so the library serves that need for focus when maybe home isn't quiet enough?
Seems that way. But maybe the most interesting utility reading is when they travel. They explicitly say they bring books when traveling, like waiting at an airport or bus station, specifically to kill time.
The classic killing time use case. But it frames reading as really effective, right? Turns that dead time, that potentially frustrating waiting time, into something useful, or at least pleasant.
It's like time arbitrage, isn't it? Redeeming lost hours. And just to ground all this, Tom gives that specific example. He mentions his most interesting book was called Nepal, a book about the country, Nepal, published in 1999.
Nepal, 1999. Okay. It's interesting he uses the year. Does mentioning a specific, slightly older book like that tell us anything? Maybe about the kinds of resources they use or value?
It could suggest a couple of things. One, it definitely anchors his interest in different cultures to something real. It's not just talk.
Right, proof of concept.
Exactly. And second, the 1999 date. Maybe it implies he values foundational info. Or maybe, given this is a language learning script context, maybe the resources available to them are slightly older collections.
Could be another. Or maybe just a memorable book from his past.
Possibly. Either way, it's a specific detail that adds weight to his general motivation.
Ties the philosophy to the actual practice. Okay, last piece of the puzzle then. Infrastructure. If reading is this consistent habit, how easy is it for them to actually get the books? What about access? Proximity to bookstores, libraries?
This is where we see a really stark contrast between the two. And it likely impacts how sustainable their habits are.
Okay.
Tom seems a bit hampered by distance. He says the nearest bookstore or library is about 3 kilometers away. He calls it a bit far.
3 kilometers. Yeah, that's not exactly next door if you need a book tonight.
Right. And he confirms, unfortunately, no, when asked if it's close. That 3 kilometer gap, that's friction. Getting new physical books requires actual planning, effort. It's not spontaneous.
That could definitely put a dent in a nightly reading habit if he relies purely on physical books, couldn't it? Creates inertia.
Exactly. Every time he finishes a book, there's a hurdle to get the next one. Kind of suggests Tom must either be, a very disciplined bulk buyer.
Stockpiling books?
Maybe. Or perhaps he relies heavily on his own collection, or maybe digital sources. Ebooks, perhaps, which interestingly aren't mentioned at all in the script.
No, they're not. It's all very physical. Okay, so Tom has this distance issue. What about Emma?
Emma is lucky, as she puts it.
Lucky how?
She has a small bookstore near her house, and she visits it every weekend.
Every weekend. Okay, so her access is immediate. Easy.
Totally different situation. For her, getting new books is part of her regular weekend rhythm. It probably makes maintaining her 3 or 4 times a week habit much, much easier. Less friction.
So, looking at the big picture, Tom reading almost daily despite the distance, Emma reading several times a week with easy access. How important is that 3-kilometer friction point for Tom, really, compared to his commitment?
Well, I think it highlights something crucial about habits, doesn't it? It's not just about willpower. It's also hugely about designing your environment, reducing those friction points.
Making it easy to do the thing you want to do.
Exactly. For Tom, reading nightly means he has to consistently overcome that inconvenience of getting new supplies. For Emma, getting supplies is easy, maybe even enjoyable, part of a weekend routine.
So the takeaway for you, the listener, trying to build a habit, make access easy.
Definitely. If you want to read every night, having books within arm's reach, maybe digitally or physically close by, seems pretty fundamental, not 3 kilometers away.
Right. So to quickly recap for you listening, we took this really simple conversation and found it actually maps out the anatomy of a successful reading habit. It's defined by consistency, daily ritual, or weekly structure. It's defined by utility, using reading to fill downtime effectively. Clear goals like learning about cultures or just relaxing. And crucially, it's influenced heavily by just how easy it is to get your hands on the next book. Proximity matters.
Yeah, and if we connect this to the bigger picture, the whole conversation really frames reading as this quite sophisticated tool. It's accessible, yes, but it's for personal growth, for mental well-being. The underlying theme is improvement, isn't it? Improving yourself, your knowledge, your state of mind.
Definitely.
Which raises, I think, an interesting final thought. Given Tom's very specific interest in learning about other cultures and mentioning that book, Nepal, how much does that simple conscious act of reading about others consistently actually contribute to something bigger, like reducing insularity, maybe fostering genuine global understanding, way beyond just being a relaxing hobby or a language tool?
That's a powerful connection. From a simple personal habit, potentially to a much larger global impact. Food for thought. Thank you for joining us on this deep dive into the surprising complexity hidden in simple conversations.
Thanks for having me.
We'll catch you next time.